Et bonjour YouTube, on se retrouve aujourd'hui pour, alors on peut pas jouer à la manette, pour la découverte de The First Three. Ce First Three, un petit jeu qui a l'air, ma foi, bien sympa. Et on est parti de suite avec un petit renard, a priori. Écoutons l'histoire. Non, j'ai mis les sous-titres.
Hi, my name is David Whaley, and I'm the creator of The First Tree. I also voice a character named Joseph. So I just wanted to introduce you to this commentary mode, tell you that you can find interesting things about how I made this game by touching the speech bubbles you see in the world. So I hope you enjoy it.
Ok. Pourquoi... Ah, attendez. Hop, on va repartir du début. Il me semblait que j'avais mis les sous-titres, mes amis. Entrée. Dans les options. C'est les remerciements. Bon, c'est pas grave. Hop, on va faire comme ça. Bon, on va réentendre l'intro, je suppose. On est reparti. YouTube. Découverte de The First Tree.
Hi, my name is David Whaley, and I'm the creator of The First Tree. I also voice a character named Joseph. So I just wanted to introduce you to this commentary mode, tell you that you can find interesting things about how I made this game by touching the speech bubbles you see in the world. So I hope you enjoy it.
En gros, c'est vrai. Il nous dit que c'est pas le jeu complet encore et que voilà, on va pouvoir
Are you awake? I thought I heard you
se
get up.
réveiller. J'ai cru entendre. Bon, je vous laisse lire.
I'm awake. Sorry,
Et on peut
I
jouer
just can't sleep.
à la manette, a
Are
priori.
you thinking about him?
Yeah, a bit. Usually get back to sleep, my love. I'm fine.
No, it's okay. What else is on your mind?
I don't know. It seems weird, but I had one of the most vivid dreams of my life. I saw a fox on a snowy mountain, just looking confused and worried. Those eyes. I can't get those eyes out of my head. She was running in the windy snow, looking for something.
Do you think it has to do with you and what's been going on?
I don't know. It was just a dream, Rachel. They're not meant to make sense. A lot's happened the past couple days, that's all.
Well, if you're not going to sleep anyway, you should tell me. I want to hear.
All right.
Bon, ok. Donc, a priori, c'est un homme qui nous raconte son rêve. Donc, on peut courir, on peut sauter. Et c'est à peu près tout pour l'instant. On va voir ça. On va essayer de sauter par-dessus. Ok, on a un double saut. On va voir ce que ça va donner. Très simpliste pour l'instant. Mais je crois que le jeu n'est pas complet encore. Hein. Il me semble. À prendre avec des pincettes. Mais oui, notre objectif il est là. On va aller voir ce qui se passe par ici.
So it's usually at this point where people say something like, "This is not the kind of game I was expecting." And that happened a lot at PAX West when I showed it. We'd have little kids play it, but then they see a dead fox cub, or a kit is technically the word, but cub sounds, I don't know, it sounds better. Like Wes Anderson uses it in Fantastic Mr. Fox, so I thought cub would be alright. But anyway, having this game, I wanted it to be more serious. This game is based on dealing with the death of my father, which is the hardest thing that's ever happened to me and my family. but I don't want to talk about it here, and I didn't want to talk about it with anybody really. To this day still, it's very personal, and that's why I made this game. That's exactly the reason, because I wanted to get those feelings out and like communicate with people without like talking about it. And so that's what the first tree is. It's me dealing with my feelings, and it was a personal project, and it was just me, and it actually, like, I'm really glad I made it, but it wasn't easy to make, I guess is what I'm saying.
Bon, bah, il nous raconte à peu près sa vie, quoi.
So, not far from her home, she followed that path to something unexpected.
Oh, trop triste.
She
C'est
couldn't
trop
stay
triste.
though. She had to find her other 2 children. So she took that path. She followed it towards something ancient. Something with answers.
The First Three. Bon, c'était l'introduction.
The fox looked high and low, searching for any sign of her cubs. Points of light showed the way to this ancient tree. It was as if each one had a story to tell, all their own. The land was trying to tell my story too. I felt like I was right behind her the whole time.
The bunnies were added because my wife, Elise, who also voices Rachel in the game, who's also helped a ton to make the game, as we were playing, she just said the world felt kind of empty and not alive enough. So I knew we needed to add some kind of life, and so the bunnies was like the first idea that came to mind. And like most of the game, I used like publicly available assets to speed up production because I was working full-time along with making this game, and we just had our first baby, a little girl named Evelyn. So I was messing with this asset called Herd Sim, and at one point, like the generation script that creates variations of the sizes of the bunny. One time I got out of control and it made like this monster bunny that towered over everybody. And I shared that GIF on Imager and Reddit, and that was a huge hit. It helped definitely gain an audience for this game. But it's hard because this game is like so serious. It's about life and death, not giant bunnies. But I knew I needed something, like a shout out to that, because it was pretty fun. So if you're able to catch all the bunnies on this map, I think there's around 13, then you'll get a special surprise. So good luck.
Usually those kids would leave me alone, but somehow they could tell I was different. They made fun of how far away I lived. They called my dad a sourdough. I was a blabbermouth as a kid, telling my dad stories I made up for hours. But after that show and tell, I didn't tell him much anymore. He didn't know exactly what was wrong, but his best guess was that the toys he carved weren't cool enough. He carved me a tank and tried to tell me what it was like to be in a real tank as a serviceman.
I didn't know your dad was in the military.
Yeah, in the army. The sad thing is that I'd pretty much forgotten until just now. There's so much I still don't know about him.
I'm sorry. He knows how much you love him. You're going to see him again soon and have some closure, I'm sure.
Lisez bien l'histoire, c'est ultra intéressant. Enfin, moi je suis. De toute façon, je suis pas mal dedans.
A lot of people have gotten confused why Joseph's father is called a sourdough, and it's not stated outright at the beginning of the game, but Joseph and his dad, they grew up in Alaska, and I don't have a real connection to Alaska except through friends who lived there, and it was also the place that me and my dad were gonna go right before he passed away. But I love the idea of Alaska being like this beautiful solitary place. But anyway, what that has to do with sourdough is it's an Alaskan slang term about like someone who lives in the backwoods, like a redneck in Alaska. So I thought that was just to put some authenticity into the game. I added that word. I feel like one of the main reasons people play small indie games is because they are so personal and intimate. So I tried to put myself into this game as much as possible. So almost all the vignettes or little stories you hear in this game, they come from my childhood, where I grew up in the middle of nowhere in Central Virginia in the United States. So yeah, that's probably why I love games like this so much, where you explore this open, wide environment and just find interesting things, because that's exactly what I did as a kid.
Ouais, pas mal de blabla, mais je kiffe tout de même la musique. C'est pour ça que je parle pas trop, parce que la musique est belle, c'est hyper relaxant. Je trouve que c'est un peu le type de jeu, un peu relaxant. C'est dommage que le jeu soit pas super beau, mais ça, on va dire que ça passe.
The older I got, the more I withdrew. I asked myself, why talk to anybody anyway? Why bother when I'm happy by myself? I started drawing a lot, mostly animals I saw in the woods by my home. I then imagined designing my own hideouts with things like TVs and pantries full of chips and cookies. I think that idea of leaving home and drawing blueprints started my career. I found a lot of solace in that.
I'm not surprised, but I did the same thing, you know? There's something special about having a place to call your own.
And now look at us. Well, if you count renting in an overpriced city.
It's as close as we can get for now.
I thought it was important to say that, yes, I actually did draw this with crayons. And it was just funny to me one day that I was like, I'm working on my game, and I pulled out my little 1-year-old's like crayon set to draw this item for this game. I just realized just now that I probably threw away the original. I probably should have kept it and given it away to somebody, but oh well.
Do you remember what my dad did for a living?
Wasn't he like a lumberjack?
That's one way of putting it. If wood was a canvas, then a carving knife was his paintbrush. Even after working a 50-hour week, even after his hands were more splinters than skin, he would bring home the nicest piece of Alaskan weeping cedar and make me toys. That wooden train was the first toy I can remember, and I loved it. I just knew from a young age I was going to be a lumberjack, like my father.
J'ai envie de tout explorer. J'ai l'impression de louper des choses. En fait, on est clairement dans son rêve. On contrôle son rêve. J'ai bien compris. Et la musique, elle est incroyable, franchement. J'adore la petite musique au piano comme ça, là. C'est juste magnifique. J'ai mis tout le budget dedans. Alors, je sais pas si c'est combien de temps il dure, si c'est très grand. Je sais pas du tout. Je pense qu'il y a quelque chose par là-bas. Je sais qu'il y a des trucs par là-bas. On va aller par là. Il y a un truc là-bas.
As a kid, did you ever do show and tell in your class?
Yeah, I think I only did it once, when I was in the 4th grade. You know how my life was around then. I wanted to show my class what helped pass the time and distracted me. So I brought a dozen paper cranes I had made. I think I told everyone how badly I wanted to be a bird and fly, embarrassingly enough.
Don't be embarrassed. Every kid wants to fly. For me, it was another toy from my dad, a wooden boat. I remember guarding it so carefully in my hands as I walked into class. When I sat down, a group of boys immediately made fun of it. They asked which trash can I found it in, or why an ugly log was my favorite toy. When I got up, I didn't even want to tell them my dad had carved it. I said it was a joke gift my friends had given me.
Kids can be so cruel.
Some of them are. I shouldn't have let them get to me, but it did. It's amazing we bounced back at all.
I feel like one of the best ways to make an exploration game feel worth it, or to reward the player, is to have as many secrets as possible. Like some of my favorite games like Dear Esther and Gone Home and Firewatch. I love those story-driven games. And they're kind of like these mystery boxes where if you put in a lot of effort, if you look closely, the world reveals itself to you better. So there are like secrets in the first tree. See if you can find one of these hidden items by digging around in these unmarked spots around this area.
Je sais pas si on peut monter après derrière là. On va aller voir. Ok, il y a des murs. On va redescendre. On va aller au bout là-bas. Il me semble qu'on pouvait continuer par derrière là-bas. On va aller voir ça. C'est vraiment, je sais pas du tout la longueur du jeu, s'il y a des objectifs. Je sais que le jeu n'est pas fini. Mais est-ce que il y a juste, faut juste suivre l'histoire est-ce qu'on a des objectifs un peu plus poussés? Je ne sais pas du tout. On est retourné là, ok. Je suis en train de me dire où est-ce qu'on est. Je suis en train de me demander où est-ce qu'on était. Ah, je sais pas s'il y a un système de jour-nuit. Ça peut voir. La voiture. On n'était pas allé plus loin par là-bas. Ouais, je vois que ça brille. Donc c'est par là la suite. Ok. Après, on a fini le premier chapitre. Ah, et on arrive au printemps. Ok. Là, c'est plus joli déjà. Je préfère largement cet univers-là que tuer de la neige. Ah ouais, si, là j'aime bien là. Ah ouais. Là très clairement. Et je maintiens cette musique.
My teenage years were full of sketching, angst, and trouble. I wasn't popular or unpopular. Maybe just forgettable. I guess that gave me a sense of freedom. So I hung out with crazy kids, doing crazy things, even though I mostly just watched the chaos ensue. We did it all. Put fireworks in mailboxes, hide roadkill in people's garages, break windows of the barber shop in Anchorage. My dad was furious, but he was so busy working he couldn't do much to stop me from going out.
I think being an adult means there's no one to stop you making hard decisions. He had to make a living, and he couldn't be in two places at once.
Yeah, I realize that now. But at the time, I was sure he was more interested in growing his business than what was going on with me.
This is the level that I showed at PAX West, which was a crazy dream come true that this hobby project was being shown next to all these amazing indie games. So I decided to show this level because it's smaller, there's like some jumping puzzles, and I thought it was a good entry into the game. But the one thing I can't seem to forget is right before we opened to the public, there was an indie dev superstar. Like, you've definitely heard of his games, and I was like terrified. He wanted to try it out. So I said, of course, like, please give me your feedback. And he was super nice, super talented, of course. But this embarrassing bug happened, which I'd never seen before in my life, where when he dug the item up, he jumped right after, and it created the dust cloud to permanently be on the rest of the level. It wouldn't turn off. So it looked like this fart cloud following the fox as it just kept running with this beautiful music and serious voiceover. And it was horrible. I think about that every time I look at this level. But, you know, I was able to fix it, so I'm glad someone could at least find that bug. I always wanted this game to be very meditative and relaxing, but I know there's a balance between keeping the player's interest. So I added this butterfly jumping mechanic just to like spice things up. I used a plugin called Playmaker for Unity, which in a visual editor lets you do interactive things, which is perfect for me because I do come from a film and design background. But on the flip side, I really wish I was good at code, because this jumping mechanic, the jumping mechanic in the whole game actually has frustrated a lot of players. But hopefully I've been able to fine tune it, so it should feel a lot better now. I would just hate that this meditative game would get frustrating, so I've definitely I've lowered the gravity, I've made the jumps more consistent, so hopefully people can just focus on the world and the story.
He was working another late night, and my friends were over, saying how bored they were and how they had come all the way out to my house for nothing. One of them mentioned how that old, ugly beyond belief truck was still in the garage, and how we should take it for a spin. I was only 15, so I kind of fought it for a while. The next thing I knew, we were craning around the mountain path, rocks spitting onto the sides of the cliff, while my dad's cringeworthy bluegrass blared out the speakers. I drove while my friends were in the back of that yellow and purple truck, throwing beer bottles and trash at anything remotely interesting. Felt like I was soaring in the air with borrowed wings. But all good things have endings. A cop outside of Eagle River pulled us over after he saw us send a bottle rocket into someone's yard. What followed was a long night of talking to disappointed adults and feeling smaller than ever.
Très joli en tout cas. Très très joli. Et puis bah les amis, c'est sur ça que on va stopper cette découverte. C'est une petite découverte effectivement. Mais petite découverte qui j'espère vous donnera envie de jouer au jeu. J'adore la musique. C'est vrai que le biome-neige n'est pas très réussi, mais là c'est quand même magnifique. Je pense que peut-être que je le finirai à un autre moment. En tout cas, dites-le moi si vous voulez que je le termine. Mais c'est très très beau. Petit papillon là, c'est très joli. En tout cas, si ça vous a plu YouTube, n'hésitez pas à laisser un like et à vous abonner pour pourquoi pas voir la suite. Et je vous dis à très très vite. Bye YouTube.